Hello, dear viewer. Grifter the Noob here. Welcome to another episode in the epic saga of GrifThor the Viking. But before we get to that, many of you have been asking about my fitness journey. You may recall that my mom hired me a personal trainer. Well, let me be the first to tell you that personal trainers are dicks. First, he made me sweat for 45 minutes straight, then he had the audacity to tell me that Hot Pockets and Mountain Dew aren't conducive to a fat loss diet, whatever that means. Any idiot can see that I'm not fat. I'm buff. If I'm fat, then Eddie Hall circa 2017 was fat. Stupid trainer. I filed a formal complaint with my mom. Stay tuned for updates. Anyway, back to Viking stuff. Previously, I discovered a majestic wolf in the mountains and immediately knew we were destined to be best friends. Donki was against it, naturally. Luckily, I don't care what Donki thinks. My first approach didn't go as planned. The wolf wasn't ready, emotionally. I had to devise a more sophisticated strategy. I called it Operation Wolf Trap Omega, an elaborate tower designed to exhaust the wolf using science. It didn't work either. As usual, Donki's negative energy was to blame, but I refused to give up. I realized that a more elegant approach was required. The trap went off without a hitch. The wolf was finally mine. After days of careful nurturing, the wolf was tamed, loyal, ready. And that brings us to today. With my new wolf friend in tow, we were ready to continue our quest. We would find the perfect base location, come hell or high water. The wolf deserved a perfect base, somewhere with good energy. As we prepared to continue our adventure, I contemplated names for the hound. Bender's Pup? Too generic. Frank? A strong contender, but still not quite right. I decided to call him Wolfie for the time being. Simple, an elegant if temporary solution. Something told me that the name would choose itself. I just had to be patient. Donki thought he'd be clever and try to rename the wolf. Asshole. Very funny. The joke was on him. He was simply showing his true colors. Cruelty to wolves is a telltale sign of psychopathy. I quickly discovered that my instinct to tame the wolf was even more genius than I initially expected. As we traveled further inland, we encountered many vicious and deadly creatures. Boars. Greylings. More boars and greylings. Wolfie struck them down without breaking a sweat. I could tell that Donki was starting to get jealous. The way he watched Wolfie hunt, that was envy, pure and simple. I pulled him aside, explained that while the wolf was obviously objectively superior to him in nearly every way, he would always have an important role in our group. Wood gathering. Donki is very adequate at wood gathering. Wolfie can't hold an axe. At least, I don't think he can. Hopefully he can't, for Donki's sake. What happened next solidified my bond with Wolfie forever. We saw a fire in the distance, a camp. I decided to investigate. Perhaps we'd find friendly traders, vital supplies, intel that could help us find the perfect base location. We approached cautiously. I took point, naturally. Leadership means taking risks. They weren't traders. It was a group of bandits, armed and hostile. They spotted us immediately. One of them charged directly at me, sword raised. I calculated my options. Dodge left, right, tactical retreat. Before I could decide, Wolfie intercepted, struck the bandit down in seconds. The wolf had saved my life. Donki would have just stood there, probably laughed while I bled out. But Wolfie, he'd risked everything to protect me. That's when I knew. This wasn't just a companion, this was family. The hound had proven himself in battle. He'd earned a proper name. Wolfie wouldn't cut it anymore. I decided I would follow Viking tradition. Great warriors were named for their characteristics, their legendary qualities. Eric the Red, Ivar the Boneless, Bjorn Ironside. The wolf deserved the same honor. I stood there for a moment, studying him, his posture, his eyes, the way he carried himself. I analyzed his characteristics. He was deadly, absolutely ruthless in combat. I'd watched him take down that bandit without hesitation. His presence was overwhelming. He commanded respect. Even Donki seemed intimidated by him. He was also nocturnal, a creature of the night. I'd noticed he was more active after sunset, peak predator hours. And finally, he possessed the strength of the Norse god himself. Thor. Deadly. Overwhelming. Nocturnal. Thor. D-O-N Thor. Thor. It was perfect. The name shows itself, exactly as I predicted. The wolf would henceforth be known as Thor the Hound. GrifThor and Thor. That has a nice ring to it. We continued our adventure, trekking through the dangerous wilds, only stopping occasionally to feed Thor. It wasn't hard. He hunted his own food beautifully. Eventually, we came upon a clearing. Thor broke off from our pack to investigate. I watched him intently as he explored the area. He seemed to like it here. He was giving me a sign. I stood there for a moment and soaked in the environment. I couldn't put my finger on it, but something about this space just felt right. It had the good energy I was looking for. It had ample lumber, open space for building, food sources, plentiful wildlife. It was safe, relatively speaking. Its central location on the map made it a great starting point. It had stones where we could mount the heads of Odin's enemies. Even better, it had a little half-built shelter for us. I couldn't believe our luck. This was it. At last, we had discovered the perfect base location. And it was all thanks to Donthor. He's smart like that. I knew I could count on him. For a moment, something felt familiar, like I'd been here before. Strange. Probably deja vu. I get that sometimes. I tried not to rub it in Donki's face, but I couldn't help but feel a sense of smug satisfaction. After all of his naysaying, I turned out to be right all along. We'd sailed the entire world, explored every biome, experienced failure and resistance at every turn. I'm ashamed to say I almost gave up hope, but it turned out fate was guiding us all along. And by fate, I mean Donthor. In the end, he led us to exactly what we needed. Perfection. Donki started gathering lumber to finish constructing our home out of the pieces some kind stranger had left behind. I took a seat on the grass, Donthor by my side. Our long journey was over. I could finally rest. Now all that was left was to construct our base, craft equipment, and begin hunting down Odin's enemies. I'll admit, we may have gotten slightly distracted from that objective. But at the end of the day, it's not about the objective. It's about the journey, and the friends you make along the way. Besides, how hard could the actual mission be? I'd already accomplished the hardest part, finding the perfect base location against all odds. The rest would be easy. A couple of dragons, a giant tree, some kind of bug. I mean, our first assignment was just a deer. A deer. Laughably easy. Donthor had already slain a dozen deer, who would make quick work of the serpent. Something told me we wouldn't be here very long. What was that? Probably nothing. And that, dear viewer, is how I accomplished the impossible. I found the perfect base location, made a loyal companion, and proved that strategic thinking triumphs over Donki's negativity every time. But much remains to be accomplished. Will Donki finally appreciate Donthor's genius? Will I craft legendary weapons? Will that deer regret challenging me? Tune in next time to witness the continued saga of GrifThor the Viking, or subscribe to my Patreon for early access. Until then, subscribe to the channel. Unless you're a wolf hater like Donki. You don't hate wolves, do you? See you next time.